What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're taking a look at another MCU movie review. We've done Iron Man, we've done Hulk, we've done Ant-Man, we've done Guardians. What are all these guys in together? Civil War. So, what two movies do we have to review before we get there? Captain America. So, over the next 3 days, we are going to be continuing our MCU review, but we are going to be taking a look at the Captain America 3 movies. I have never reviewed a Captain America movie on the channel before. Very strange, I know. Gonna be honest, I didn't actually watch Captain America all the way through till like 3-4 years ago. I'm gonna be honest, this was like a first for me when I watched this all the way through 3-4 years ago. So it's still quite new to me when it did come out all the way back in like 2011, 2010, 2012, you know, it was a very early, like, 2010s movie, so it took me like 10 years to watch this movie, not gonna lie, and it is a fucking banger. So without any further delay, let's take a look at what Google has to say. Captain America, the First Avenger. It is a 2-hour and 4-minute movie that came out in 2011. It is an action sci-fi, which is a 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb, a 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 4.7 out of 5 on Amazon. You can watch it on YouTube, Google Play, Amazon Prime, or Disney+. During World War II, Steve Rogers decides to volunteer in an experimental that will transform his weak body. He must now battle a secret Nazi organization headed by Jordan Smith to defeat the nation. Well, that was a little bit of a mouthful. So how the story actually goes is Bucky and Steve Rogers, they're having a little bit of a party, a little bit of a boogie, getting jiggy with it, getting a little bit of a dance off, and we then have him go in and be like, hey, I want to join the army. He really, really wants to join the army. He has that determination. He doesn't get through, but then he gets through because the army are desperate for more soldiers, and they sort of lower and lower and lower all the requirements that he needs to get in. He then jumps on a grenade during training, saving everybody, and the people who are sort of running the training camp see how much potential he has and is like, damn, we need to get this man buff. So they put him in the sort of super soldier training facility and sort of filling up with steroids. He then comes out of the machine looking absolutely jacked. He can take on 10,000 men right now. And of course they had to make him shirtless just to show off his fucking abs and his fucking really sweaty body when he came out the machine for whatever reason. He was incredibly sweaty. They continue the scene by having someone steal the information. He chases them down. They end up getting away because, I don't know, actually, they got away. I think Captain America just wasn't fast enough. But it was the first time in a movie a hostage was not useful, because when they threw the hostage into the water, turns out you could fucking swim, which is good on the kid. It's always important to learn how to swim. You never know when you might be taken hostage and thrown into the ocean. Right. Anyway, he then gets put as like the main face, the main sort of, instead of Uncle Sam, it's now Captain America. He's the one who's doing singing and dancing shows, which I don't think is the best use of government money, seeing as how they just pumped him full of roids and now they're keeping him as the sort of mascot of the army instead of using his newfound potential and newfound muscles. Anyway, he ends up going into the fight and saving a full battalion of troops because Bucky is there. He needs to go save Bucky. He wants to go save his buddy. So they go and do a load of missions. They save Bucky. They do so much more missions and they end up trying to hijack a train. Bucky dies and he continues the mission. He continues to fight through the train, fight through the sort of compound, fight onto a jet and take out the people in the jet and crash it into the ice to stop the bombs from going off. Like 12 years later, 100 years later, I don't fucking know. 50, 60, how long is it between 2011 and like 1954? A good like 60, 70 years pass, and S.H.I.E.L.D. dig him out of ice, and he sort of walks out, and, you know, guess what? He instantly sees the New York City, which he does not remember because 60 years has passed. That's where the movie ends, with Nick Fury offering him a job as an Avenger. So that's where we get the first Avenger title, because right at the end of the movie, Nick Fury offers him the first Avenger title. Gotta be honest, movie, very interesting. The bad guy is Red Skull. The bad guy is a Nazi. That is pretty cool. for the first time ever in a superhero movie, the first villain of the movie is not just a villain, just not an evil version of himself. The villain is just a guy who had an unfortunate accident and now has his red skull on show all of the time. I'm gonna be honest, I'm so glad that it wasn't just like Bucky is the first villain, and they set that up very nicely with him falling off the train. That is such a good setup, which gets paid off in the next movie. It is also a very emotional scene. I didn't cry when Bucky died, gonna be honest, because when I watched this, I knew he was gonna come back as Winter Soldier. The first Captain America movie I ever watched all the way through was Civil War. Say what? Yep, that's right, that is correct. You heard me right. I am watching the MCU completely out of order for the second time round, which is lovely. But I really do enjoy this movie. It is a absolute solid movie. I think it is way better than Iron Man. I think it's way better than Hulk, and I think it is way better than Thor. For the movies that came out around this time, it is one of the strongest, one of the bangers that is here. Because it is just a great story, it has great plot points, it is a really interesting just movie, because it is our first superhero World War movie, which we haven't really seen before, and we haven't seen since. Like, we've never had a World War in a sort of superhero movie, which is pretty cool. It's like one of the biggest features of this movie. We also have Captain America kicking ass with a shield. That is badass as fuck. He's taking down entire armies. The action in this movie is insane. You can automatically get behind him, and you automatically get hooked to this character because of his determination, his resilience, his pure heart. You already get behind him and you can back him. And he's not like so righteous like Superman that you think he's a bellend. He's not so righteous that you're like, oh, he's an unrealistic person. He's just enough righteous to make him seem human, to make him seem real, and that gets further pushed through this movie and throughout the second two movies, because we see him care so much for his friends that he would do anything to save them. He goes against the government, he goes against his own country to save his bros. He goes against the army, he goes against everything to go and save his bros. And that is bros before your country. Not bros before hoes, bros before your country. I can't think of a rhyme that matches bros before hoes, but instead bros before country. I can't think of one, I'm sorry, it's just not there. The joke could write itself. There is a joke there, I'm just not an intellectual and can't read or rhyme. So I'm gonna stop wasting everyone's time and continue with the review. The characters in this movie are pretty cool. Like I said, that it has a main focus on Howard Stark, Captain America, Peggy Carter, and Bucky Barnes. They're like your main four, and they get pushed a lot for this movie. It gives you a whole lot of time to connect with these characters and build the relationship, to have that really impactful ending where he sacrifices himself to save the world. We have that really sort of big sort of shift in tone at the end of the movie, where we see the sort of camera angles and the music change, where we sort of see the cogs turning in Captain America's head, where he realizes what he has to do. So this movie is just visually pleasing with how it is shot, how the music works together. It is really nice. There is a couple of small, like, concerns, like, again, like I mentioned, with why the fuck the government are putting their biggest science project as like a mascot for the army instead of using it to its full advantage. You know, that just doesn't make sense in my head. But other than that, I think it is a solid movie with a solid story and sets up the foundation really nicely for Captain America for the rest of his movies. So, other than that, this movie, solid 8 out of 10. It is a superhero movie that I can rewatch over and over and over again. Captain America is one of my favorites from the MCU, not gonna lie. Like, there is better, but he's up there.